Chad Parizman is the head of social media and digital communications at Pfizer. He provides leadership on digital trends, technologies, and social media to the company's top executives. Please welcome to the Engage 2017 stage, Chad Parizman.
Thank you for having me today. It's my first visit to Prague, so I'm very excited to be here. We're going to talk about how to think like a media company today, and you'll see that I'm from Pfizer, and there might be some of you confused in the audience saying, you know, Pfizer I know makes my pills, it makes my vitamins, it makes some medicine that maybe my parents or grandparents take. It's not a media company. And you'd be absolutely right. It's not. We're one of the largest global biopharmaceutical companies in the world. But I recently joined Pfizer about 11 months ago from a media company called Scripps Networks Interactive. There might be a few of you in the audience, maybe some Food Network fans. Yes? We know some people, some know, yes. Or HGTV, Travel Channel. But I realize, we have a fairly global audience here today. So maybe you're more familiar with some of these shows. House Hunters, anybody, we got a fan here. Anybody ever lose an entire Saturday afternoon to just watching like 10 episodes of House Hunters in a row? Iron Chef maybe, Anthony Bourdain. I spent about 15 years in the media world, and when I came to Pfizer, the first thing people ask me is, why would you leave, TV, it's fun, it's exciting, why would you come here? It's heavily regulated, lots of legal, every country has different rules, it's very process-driven. And one of the first things I say is, it's really not that different from where I came from. Scripps was 6 cable networks, a bunch of websites. It was really a house of brands. And Pfizer, at the end of the day, is the same thing, right? We have lots of brands in our portfolio, prescription, over-the-counter, right? They do lots of things. People might be more familiar with maybe our brands. You might take some of these more than the actual company itself. And so it was a pretty natural fit for me. But one of the other things that I really wanted to do is while home and food and shelter are very important, and it can be fun teaching how to chop an onion or working on Chopped. At the end of the day, I thought, Pfizer, to the meaning of what we're talking about today, really is impacting the world, right? It's doing things to change the world, whether it's vaccine prevention for children or research into oncology. And I wanted to go somewhere that actually had a little bit more of an impact. And so for me, when I got there, I wanted to look at, so I head up both digital and social within corporate communications. And I said, okay, where's the social calendar coming from? And they said, Pfizer.com, we post there, we post things on the website, then we promote it on social, we get lots of things. And I looked at it, and we were coming out with some great stuff on Pfizer.com. We recently relaunched the website to this new design. So we've got things like the A's and B's of hemophilia, right? Teaching people what it means about this rare disease, what causes it, new research on the horizon. Or we talk about ways that we're assisting people. We have a program in the US called Pfizer RX Pathways that helps people get life-saving medicine or helps them work with their insurance company. But at the end of the day, Pfizer.com, there's just not enough information coming up for social, right? Everyone in here that's a social marketer knows it's a bucket with a hole, right? We're constantly filling. We've got to find new content every day in order to publish out on all of our channels. So I said, okay, besides Pfizer.com, where else can I start to source information? Where can I find things to post that really start to tell the Pfizer story about innovation, about science, about the work that our colleagues do? And so one of the first places I went to was working with our medical team. We have a website called Get Healthy, Stay Healthy. And it's really a public health platform for our chief medical officer, Dr. Frieda Lewis Hall. And what this does is, as a website standing outside of Pfizer.com, it lets us play in areas like this, right, where we can talk about life as a cancer survivor, right? That's something kind of at the core of what Pfizer strives to do. But it also lets us talk about kind of more health and wellness types of topics, like child fever, right? This is probably not something maybe that I'd put on Pfizer.com because it's a little bit outside the bounds of kind of what the core of Pfizer is. And then I found out we actually also have this other website called getold.com. It's all about healthy aging, right? Again, makes sense. A lot of our medicines are used by lots of people that are at the higher end of the age scale. And so we can do things in that same health and wellness space, right? We can blow it out a little bit further. So this is talking about exercise that you can still do even at an older age. But then we get to talk about things like loneliness, right? This is something that really impacts people as they age, maintaining friendships, starting new friendships. And it actually plays a vital role in people's health and wellness. But again, something maybe I wouldn't do on Pfizer.com. And then we launched this website, getscience.com, last summer. We're really proud of this. So this goes really deep into the science of Pfizer. Pop culture and science overlap right now, right? In a world where someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson has millions of followers, right? People actually love talking about science. So we can do these really deep kind of impactful things about like gene therapy and start talking about what's going on in that area, what are we doing? But we can also do these kind of fun science articles, right? Talking about how to make a better needle and looking at porcupines for that. And so all of a sudden, in a very short amount of time, I start to see I can actually source information from a variety of websites that are still in the Pfizer family, right? And so I start thinking, this really isn't that different than HGTV and Food Network. We can show recipes, we can show people tablescapes, we can start working together. And so I start looking around the company more and more. We have a website, Pfizer 365. Interestingly enough, this is actually maintained by our internal communications team, because it actually features colleagues from around the world and the impact that they're doing, the work going around in our offices and our local communities. But it's actually an external resource, right? So it's there for colleagues to share. We should be sharing this on Pfizer's social channels. And then, like I mentioned, that program, Pfizer's RX Pathways, we're starting to tell more of these stories. Every week we get letters from people saying, thank you for helping me get this medicine. Thank you for helping my mom get her medicine. Thank you for helping me with my insurance company. And we're starting to tell those types of stories on the website that we're using to actually help people. And so it starts ballooning out, this area of where I can source content from. And then, even further out, this is actually a marketing site, but it's not for a particular drug. It's about the metastatic breast cancer and the work that we're doing there. And it features patients like Beth Fairchild, who have worked with our oncology team. And we recently did a Facebook Live with her. We have therapeutic area websites like arthritis.com that talk about, what is arthritis? What's the cause of it? How can you help maintain it? And then kind of the farthest reaches is a branded website. So we make Robitussin. So the rules in the US say that this is a promotional site. I run a non-promotional site. But what's interesting is they create a lot of non-promotional content, right? They are actually at the forefront of content marketing, realizing that they need to talk about things like understanding your cough, other options, what else you can do to support it when you have a cold. So now we're starting to talk, with our marketing teams who are doing things like this. How can we start using our content? Can we syndicate it over? What other places can we start using, this excellent content that's actually being created in all of these small pockets around the company? And so, within just a couple of months, my worldview of the content that I have access to grew very large. But then, now I got to figure out where I put all of that stuff, right? Because when I got there, everything went everywhere. How many people have had someone, just here's one asset, put it all across, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it doesn't matter, same message, copy and repeat, right? So what we started to do is look at saying, okay, what are the most appropriate pieces of content for the platforms? Facebook, no surprise, video, right? Really heavily invested in that. Talking about our scientists does really well on Facebook. And Facebook Live, if you had asked me a year ago when I first joined Pfizer, when do you think we'll start doing live video? I would have never said 2017, but because some of the strides that my team has made, we've been able to successfully execute several Facebook Lives, working with our brand teams, working with our legal to make sure we're staying compliant. Twitter, Twitter was, everything went up on Twitter, it didn't matter. And we've really pared that down to 3 areas. One is news, right? News about the company, news about research that we're doing. 2, we're constantly monitoring hashtags. So this is actual living scientists. If you really want to be inspired, go check this hashtag out. It wasn't something that we started, it was fairly organic. But it's a campaign that aims to let people know that, your neighbor, someone you work with, maybe you didn't actually know that they're a scientist. A scientist is not someone in a white lab coat that looks through a microscope all day, right? There's a lot of different ways that you can be a scientist and participate in science. And then event coverage. We're doing a ton more of this. Almost every week we have a Pfizer colleague speaking somewhere around the world at some type of event. LinkedIn. We are one of the few brands, we actually on our global LinkedIn page have over 1 million followers. And so LinkedIn is the one area where people are actually interested about Pfizer as a brand. So we get to really brag about who we are, awards that we win, colleagues, what they're doing inside the walls of Pfizer. It's the one place that people can't seem to get enough about Pfizer as a company. YouTube is kind of the most recent one. When I got there, it was really just a repository for videos. Let us put videos on websites. So this is kind of the last one that we're figuring out. What is our strategy there? We're moving things into playlists. We're figuring out, not how do we just take TV appearances from Dr. Frida or ad campaigns, but we're starting to make, this kind of really great science-y content with our partners over at Get Science and featuring those videos more and tagging them appropriately and things like that. And then Instagram, I was really happy to see Jan's presentation this morning, right? Because when you saw on Facebook, media #1, right? And we're trying to think like a media company, but when you saw celebrities are #1 over on Insta, but #2 right behind them is brands, right? And so along with Get Science, we decided to launch our Instagram account because we saw a great opportunity to talk about really cool science types of things, do these types of molecules, this amazing imagery that we're able to obtain working with our science sponsors around the country. But what we quickly realized is that there was actually an appetite for a little bit more. And so we've started to expand beyond just science on Instagram. And we're doing these health tips of the day, working with our partners over at Get Healthy, Stay Healthy, or telling stories. This is actually an arthritis story that we got, working with the arthritis.com team, and telling people's kind of journeys of living and understanding diseases that they have. And so what my team now does every week is we look at, okay, here are all the sources of all the content that we're going to be publishing, and here are all of the options, right? And again, what it would have been a year ago was check boxes everywhere, right? As long, if it's video, it should go up on YouTube, it should go up everywhere. And we're really trying to take a much more tempered approach and saying, all right, something on Pfizer.com, it might only make sense LinkedIn, Facebook, because it's going to talk about the company. We've got an event going on. And so we go down this checklist every week and really are specific about what kind of content one goes where. And what we looked at about a month ago, over the past 2 months, is the amount of content we've published has actually dropped in half because we're focusing on quality and not quantity, but engagements are actually up by 1/3. And it's a great story to take out to all of our partners across the country, across the company, and be able to tell them, look, do less, do it better, you'll actually perform better. And so it's great when those metrics can actually support the strategy that the team has put together. And so we executed this in a couple of ways recently. One, we actually went to South by Southwest for the first time. And we had colleagues appearing on 4 panels. And so we used Facebook a couple weeks before to start promoting it. On Twitter, we were doing live from Austin. We were actually tweeting out. Instagram, we used to promote a story about, this is Paul. He was actually a 40-year-old retiree that became a summer intern and worked at Pfizer. He's got an amazing story. He did this in partnership with the Get Old team. I advise you to go check it out. It's actually absolutely incredible. And we, for the first time, did Instagram stories live there, following around what we thought was the oldest person at South by Southwest, a conference you typically think of as a young person's place, and what a day in the life at South by was like for Paul. And so we were able to take this story from a bunch of different places and executed across all of our platforms. And then probably the thing I'm the most proud of is actually this video. A couple of weeks ago in the US, there was a science march. And it was a march on Washington, but there were marches all around the country and even supportive ones around the world. And what we wanted to do is not only show Pfizer's commitment to science and the science that we do, but also the scientists that work for us every day. Right? We know that there are folks in locations around the world that are doing some amazing research, and they've come to us and said, you know, how do you start to recognize that work? How can you support us? How can we work together across all of our social channels? And so this is my team, you know, worked really hard with our research and development group to tell this story, to put this up. And what's interesting is we actually put this up on Facebook and on Twitter as the actual videos the day before, and then we started running paid. But we didn't run paid against regular science enthusiasts. We actually did geo-targeting towards all of the locations in the US where we knew we had scientists marching to show them that we were in support of the work that they do every day. Over on Instagram, instead of taking that video, we actually hit all of the beats and put this together as an Instagram gallery. So that, you know, again, showing this idea of being able to repurpose content. And then the day of the Science March, we ran this as an Instagram story. And we got great traction with, you know, I think the best comment that we got was someone saying, you know, oh no, now I have to start agreeing with Pfizer, right? It was someone that was clearly a hater that we had come over and explained the work that we're doing, the impact that we're having. And so when I think about, you know, the topic of today, this is why I'm proud to work at a company like Pfizer and the change in the world that that we help to make every day. So with that, thank you very much.